Guys, welcome in. Get you up on Facebook right now if you want to watch us on Facebook. And go live on Facebook is now up. Give it about 20, 30 seconds to kick in for you. You can watch us on X, Facebook, and all that fun stuff. Rumble, YouTube. Facebook's now live.
Lee's on hold.
And Greg just jumped in with us.
This is Armed American Radio's Daily Defense.
Armed American Radio's Daily Defense, because they don't want me to, that's why I do it.
Presented by the National Rifle Association on the Patriot Mobile Platinum Microphone.
They're never going to stop us here.
Here is your host, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting the enemies of freedom, Mark Walters.
Hey, welcome in, guys. If you're watching on any of the platforms, we'll tell you how to do that in just a moment. You've got me with Corvette hair today and don't care. Don't care. Of course, I pretty much have Corvette hair any day anyway, Greg, you know?
Yeah.
I'm the guy that would go on Gutfeld and they would talk about my bad haircut. Because I just let it grow and I don't care.
Yeah, I walked in the building this morning with bad hair, too. It's vacation mode.
Well, that's true, and it is for me, too. I tell you, that, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Even though it's work, it's still vacation. It's hard to go to Key West, even for work.
And still
not,
think you're working.
Not feel like you're on vacation. It's Key West. We'll talk about that in a minute with Lee The Gunwriter Williams, who's down in Sarasota, Florida. But first, we're live on Facebook for you here, ladies and gentlemen, here at the Patriot Mobile Communication and Command Center. It's all being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. Facebook.com/Armed American Radio. You can watch us there. Greg, take it away from there. We'll go to our guest, Lee The Gunwriter Williams, for the hour.
Sure, other places to watch the show are going to be YouTube and Rumble. Just do a search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters over there. At X, we're on at AAR Mark. You can head over to armedamericanradio.org or .com, hit that menu icon, and select your watch live or listen live option. And if you'd like to join our live chat, just download Telegram, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
Is Shifty Shift going to go to jail?
Boy, I hope so.
Wow, wouldn't that be nice? Lee The Gunwriter Williams, welcome in, my brother.
Hey, brother, I am not going to jail. Thank you very much.
No, but Shifty Shift might, right?
Yeah, that's to be decided. I hope so.
He's in trouble. They got him on mortgage fraud, dude. I don't think they're going to play games. I know everybody wants it. I'm a cynic like everybody else. Sick and tired of hearing about investigations all day long, and then it just disappears. Yeah. Some of these I don't think are going to disappear. Just be patient, ladies and gentlemen. Believe me, the administration wants these criminals, and I think they're going to get them. Some of them, anyway.
And people go to jail for this regularly.
You would. You'd be locked up. You'd go to jail. You'd be tainted forever. So let's see to it that these clowns go. And, you know, it's interesting. Nobody in America believes Shifty Shift. Nobody does. I mean, this guy's just a clown from the word go. So it'll be interesting to see some of these top-level Democrats go to jail. You know, Bob Menendez was a toss away for the Democrats so that they could say, see, we go after our own. because he was so blatant. Well, so have the rest of them been so blatant. It's gonna be interesting to watch this unfold. So Lee, let's talk a little bit about doctors today. That's always an interesting topic for me because I remember moving here in 2005, and it's always been the pediatrician thing with me, right? My kids were very young when I moved here from Florida. They were 1 and 3. So the first thing you do is shop for a pediatrician, right? So I played a very active role in that when we moved here because of the firearm issue. And the first doctor we went to, and I won't name who it is, and I really won't this time because it really doesn't matter. I don't even think they're down there anymore. But nonetheless, one of the first questions asked was, do we have firearms in the home? That's grabbed my wife, and she looked right at me and went, oh, God, here we go. I said, well, that's none of your business, and because of you asking that question, we're going to find a new pediatrician. And he tried to interrupt me. I said, have a great day. It's great being here. And I paid the $20 or whatever the copay was, and walked out, and never went back to that guy ever again. Had that same conversation with another pediatrician who said, don't worry about it. You're not going to get asked that question here. I think that's wrong. And he said, most doctors around here don't. We live in a very conservative area. I guess I found that one that was just an outlier. And later on, when I hooked up with my doctor, who I still use to this day, 20 years later, come to find out, when I first started the radio program, this guy's been a fan of mine for years and years and years. I helped him get his permit. He's one of those guys that is all guns. He's got to keep you healthy, man. Your voice is important out there. That's the kind of doctor I want. And you've got a very disturbing piece up on armedamericannews.com as the investigative journalist that you are. And it is titled, ladies and gentlemen, Doctors Increasing Their Fight Against the Second Amendment. Clue me in.
Yeah, well, we started seeing more of their stories coming out on this one website that publishes them, JAMA, Journal of the American Medical Association. Used to be if you got a story in JAMA, you were doing very well as a clinician or as a doctor or something. Today, man, they'll publish anything. And they used to publish anti-gun stories once every couple of months. On Friday, brother, they had 2 of them. I'll just give you the titles. State gun laws and firearm-related homicides and suicides, 2017 to 2022, and documented firearm accidents before suicide among psychiatric emergency service patients. Both stories are clearly hard anti-gun fiction. The first one, brother, it was written by a guy named Cleveland Satya. He's an MD. He's the director of the Center for Gun Violence Prevention at Northwell Health.
Remind us who funds that.
Yeah, who doesn't? That's funded by the left.
It's all anti-gun money.
Anti-gun money. His bias toward the Second Amendment is incredibly well known. He's an anti-gun doctor employed by an anti-gun group. And the best thing about it is where he got his data. Giffords. I'm not kidding. Giffords.
It's a question. Let's just kind of break this down as we go through this. We'll spend some time on this because it's important. Ladies and gentlemen, you all have doctors. If you have kids, your kids go to pediatricians. Even dentistry, and I've never had that question. In fact, my dentist, I hooked him up with 3 crossbreed holsters. That's just the way I roll with my doctors. But I actually go out of my way to talk about that stuff. Many people probably don't. They kind of keep it, close to the vest. Now, Jam, I've got a long history with this stuff. My father was he was a pharmacist with Eli Lilly Drug Company for his entire career. His dad, my grandpa, worked for Eli Lilly Drug Company for 30 plus years. My sister was the chief head of pharmacology and research at Kennestone Wellstar Hospital as a pharmacist for years. She's now retired. And I grew up seeing JAMA. It was on my coffee table every week, whenever it comes out. I grew up watching, reading JAMA just because I was bored. And I thought one day I'd go into pharmacy until I went into biology in high school and went, yeah, this ain't my cup of tea. I'm going into business. I just didn't have that brain. But it angers me when I see that because my family has that medical background. They're all very pro-gun. And I would hate to think that there were doctors out there that would somehow equate my gun ownership as a disease. And they do. And
yes.
the people that we're talking about that fund this stuff that you wrote about are the very people back there that are pushing this nonsense. And if we don't push back on them, they get away with this crap. Okay? Well, they're not going to here. We're going to continue to talk about it. So I take that stuff personally just because of how I grew up with the background that my
Good,
family
you should.
has. It angers me, and it should anger me. Do you, ladies and gentlemen, do you get angry about this stuff, or is it just me, Lee? I know you do because you're right about it. But for crying out loud, how do we put our foot down?
Yeah,
what do we do?
Well, you have to be aware. You have to check your doctor. Any mention of guns is, you handled it right when they mention guns. My doctor and I talk about guns all the time. He carries, I carry.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best way to do it. And just find, not only is it a good thing to do for the Second Amendment, you're with somebody that makes you feel comfortable. And I don't care who you are, you go to a doctor's office, I'm immediately not comfortable. But when that doc comes in, I'm feeling good. I went through some of the previous screw ups that the American Medical Association docs
it's a
have
mess.
made. Yeah, and we found, they're legion. There is data sources has always been the Achilles heel of these anti-gun doctors. We found one review where they used the Gun Violence Archive, which I think we've mentioned so often. I think we've debunked it dozens of times.
Oh, countless. Yeah, on the
Second
show,
one, yeah. 3 stories where they're using GVA data, and then 1 story where they're using Brady. But, the shining example is Dr. Robert B. Young, who's a psychiatrist. He's in New York. He's also at Rochester School of Medicine. And he runs Doctors for Responsible Gun Ownership,
right,
which is a tremendous group. They're pro-gun docs.
Yeah, we have featured them on the program.
I have read both.
We
he's
featured them many
fantastic.
times over the years. And let me say this, Greg. How much time do we have before break?
40.
40 seconds. All right. Let me just pontificate here for a second, Lee. We'll take this to the break. When we come back, I'm going to read you some quotes from Lee's piece, where the Sathya MD comes out and admits it's about money. Tell me it's about money without telling me it's about money, right? And you'll be able to pick that up from the quote that I read to you. But then I want to go into a little bit, because we now have politics in America so divisive.
It is.
And I don't really know so I'm just going to come out and say this. I don't trust a doctor who has differing political views than I do on an issue like this to take care of me the way I would expect a doctor to do in today's day and age. I'm sorry, I don't. We've seen too many examples. We just talked about the doctor in Texas the other day who was fired for wishing death upon MAGA kids in a flood. So do we even have to think about this in America today? Yeah, we do, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back with Lee right after this. and mics are live. And the AC is staying on. Guys, I don't care. It's just too hot out. Don't sip the sugar-free Red Bull during the break.
The following segment of Armed American Radio's Daily Defense is being brought to you by Patriot Mobile. Visit patriotmobile.com/AAR and use the AAR promo code to get free activation today. Welcome back to the show.
Patriot Mobile phone in my hands, ladies and gentlemen. You too can have a Patriot Mobile phone. It's real easy. The phone that you currently have can be a Patriot Mobile phone. Just port your number over. It's real simple. patriotmobile.com/AAR. And when you do that, you get free activation. Well, free activation, you get a free month. It's better than the activation because it's a free month of service. And you too can give your money for your cell phone, which unfortunately we all have to have nowadays, to a company that actually donates to your Second Amendment causes. Likely the same groups that you are members of and donate to as well. And they are on scene all over the country at events that, not just gun events, but conservative events rocking the Second Amendment everywhere. Everywhere. PatriotMobile.com. They are the real deal. And don't forget the National Rifle Association. During the next break, I'll show you the range bag again, and I'll show you the binoculars, but I'll do that during the break for those of you that are watching. But if you join the NRA today, you get one of the 700 range bags that we had. It will come to you automatically, as long as we still have them in stock, for a 1 to 3 year membership. It's $35 or $85 for one of those two memberships. You get the range bag. If you go with a 5-year membership like I did, or life membership, you get the binoculars. NRA.org/AAR. Join us or rejoin us, ladies and gentlemen. We need your help, particularly with topics that we're talking about here with Lee, because the NRA gets very deeply involved in this stuff to help shut these boneheaded MDs up that are out there fighting against your right to bear arms instead of treating your health concerns. Lee the Gunwriter Williams, welcome back, brother.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So let me quote this Sathya here, and I'm going to quote from Lee's piece. Last February, during an interview with the American Medical Association, you'll hear that reference as the AMA acronym, which was titled Firearm Injury Prevention Strategies in Medicine and How Physicians Can Play a Role in Gun Safety. Now, let me just stop right there. Why do doctors, and this is almost it's almost a rhetorical question, but why do they interject themselves in gun safety? Is it because they treat firearm injuries? Is that why they want to get involved here?
I wish that was the case. No, they're lefty. They don't like guns. That's why they're going to press this.
Okay, so they use, and we'll talk about it because it is in part of the piece here. But here's what Sathya said. At its core, though, remember, gun violence injuries are extremely expensive to treat, right? We know that they're much more costly to treat than other types of trauma, blunt trauma included, speaking to the complexity of these wounds. And the majority of these patients are on Medicaid, right? We know that from the studies. So there is an argument to be made at the administrator level as well that these are not patients, given the differential reimbursement rates that you get from the state versus what a health system actually pays in cost. And I'm emphasizing these words for a reason, ladies and gentlemen. You know this is a big hit to health system finances. So the more prevention that can be instituted, the less that you're going to have that incremental deficit as a result of what I just talked about. Lee, that is essentially, to me, who has studied this issue, probably more than the average person simply because we talk about it. But that's, to me, I hear it's all about money. I'm going to tell people it's about money without coming out and saying it. I'm going to couch it in terms of Medicaid and reimbursements, health insurance reimbursements, et cetera. But isn't that what he's saying here?
It's 100% what he's saying. In a perfect world, they would have fired him for saying that. He would no longer be running this anti-gun group. No, he probably got a raise.
It probably did. The annual gun law scorecard was used from the Giffords Law Center, and you rightfully point out the gun violence archives, and you've written extensively about it. A lot of these groups use the GVA, but you do rightfully point out that a lot of even the anti-gun groups are backing off the GVA now because it's been so demonized and so debunked, like those of us that talk about it in the gun rights community so frequently. Are they using the GVA that much anymore, or has this just been kind of the fad that's kind of faded out now that they realized it wasn't really helping them but was actually hurting them in the long run?
I think they're realizing that this data, any data from GVA is going to, one, pull pro-gun folks to look at their story and not in a good way, and two, will definitely be wrong. I mean, you got 10 people all over the country sitting in their living room crunching on their computers, coming up with these quote unquote numbers. There's no way in hell that's going to be accurate. I mean, look at some of the studies that we've looked at, where they'll say there's 300 deaths and FBI gun-related deaths. FBI will say no, there were 30 that year nationally. I mean, it's crazy, their numbers.
Yeah, well, we've been ragging the FBI a lot, particularly over the Biden administration when it was weaponized, and that's all fine and dandy. But we've been using the Uniform Crime Report, the UCR report from FBI.gov. And ladies and gentlemen, you don't take our word for it. I don't want you to do that. I want you to go there yourself and read it. It is the FBI.gov/UCR, the Uniform Crime Report. You can find every single statistic that the FBI keeps as long as the information is being fed to them by local law enforcement, which has been ignored by many big cities for a reason. The Biden administration didn't want the actual numbers reported to the FBI because it made them look like fools. So they didn't report the numbers, and it skewed everything. And as you know, John Lott was on the program when he busted them, popping out with, oh, yeah, by the way, our numbers were wrong. They're not as high as we thought they were. We have to retract that. But they did it quietly at midnight, right? So we called them out on it. But nonetheless, those UCR report numbers, when the information that the FBI seeks is given to them, are 100% dead on, my cousin Vinny, gonad accurate, Lee, because the information, if it's being fed to them, is the actual information that the FBI was seeking. That makes the numbers they were looking for that they're reporting 100% accurate, does it not?
Which we have in the story. GVA says there were 417 deaths from mass shootings. FBI says there were 30. Who do you trust? Who do you believe?
Well, it ain't going to be the left-wing GVA because they've changed how, and again, we've talked about this ad nauseum, but folks, it's vital that we keep these conversations alive. Why? Because doctors are now getting a little bit more aggressive. And maybe it's not your doctor, but it is coming from the top. And what we're seeing here behind the scenes is the American Medical Association and the publication, one of the main publications, the Journal of American Medical Association, otherwise known as JAMA, now getting more aggressive. And when they get more aggressive at the top, the anti-gunners within their ranks become more aggressive as well, which means many of you are going to start hearing a lot of anti-gun rhetoric around the country from the doctors you use. And dare I say that it will likely be more, Lee, for people who have doctors that live behind the blue wall, no doubt about that. But like I said, I had a pediatrician do that to me a number of years ago, and I'm far from behind the blue wall. I'm in one of the most conservative counties, if not the most conservative county in a very conservative state. So they're everywhere, Lee. We've got to stay on our toes to debunk this nonsense, right?
100%. And I'll say this, man. If you look at what they're saying, they have to base it on something. If they come out with a wacky statement, ask them where they got the data. And it's going to be gun violence. It's going to be one of the anti-gun groups, guaranteed. 30. Ask them where they got that data before you leave like you did. Because there's no other way. The numbers are just wrong.
Well, you could do what I did, and I did actually ask this question. Where are your credentials? Where are your firearm credentials? Where are your training certificates? Where do you how involved are you with firearms? Show it to me. And they just look at you like you're stupid because they can't answer the question. The vast majority of these doctors know nothing about your firearms, let alone your firearms rights. If you're lucky like I am and like Lee is to have a doctor that is up on it, maybe even shoots competitively like a couple doctors I've been to, you're lucky. A lot of Americans are not. When we come back, 2 more segments with Lee The Gunwriter Williams. We have a lot to cover. We're going to go down to Florida and cover some nonsense going on there, too. We'll be right back.
The following segment of Armed American Radio is proudly being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. Help us defend freedom by visiting nra.org/AAR and join today. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Let me model the range bag for you if you're watching. Here's the range bag that you're going to get. Quite roomy. A couple pouches on the outside here, Velcro attachment, hands, shoulder, whole 9 yards. I don't have anything in this, so it's not all puffed out, but it's pretty good size. And that's if you sign up for the 1 to 3 year membership at the NRA. That's $35 annually, or that is $85 for the 3 year. It's a great bargain. Both of them are. And if you sign up for the 5 year or life membership, you're going to get this container here, and it's inside. It's going to have these super high quality binoculars with the lens covers and the case. And they are very high quality. They're 10 by 42 power. They're very cool. My son and I were out playing with them just the other day. They are the real deal. And that's for a 5 year membership or a life membership. The 5 year deal is probably, in my estimation, the best deal. I think it's $125 for 5 years. And ladies and gentlemen, if you don't want to give any more money, that's fine. I mean, we hope you do, but you don't have to. That's entirely up to you. Just be a member and help us swell the ranks. I cannot tell you how critical it is. Everything that we talk about on this show, the NRA has their fingers in. And much more that I'm even unaware of until I get some of the alerts or a phone call from somebody at the headquarters up in Virginia. But nonetheless, all you've got to do is join. It's a no-brainer, okay? Please do that. Also, attorneysonretainer.us, another no-brainer. If you carry a firearm, why don't you have coverage with a defense attorney? It's that simple. That's simple. Have an attorney in your hip pocket. God forbid you ever have to use the firearm that you carry with you every day. Remember old Clint Smith, pants on, gun on. Why would you not have an attorney? Ask yourself that question. These are no-brainer things that in today's day and age, you absolutely have to, particularly if you live somewhere where you know you have a prosecutor that is just working for prosecutions and working for that next election behind the blue wall. Know who your prosecutor is and understand, man, you know what? I carry a gun in this jurisdiction. I might want to have a defense attorney. God forbid something happens. It's $35 a year, folks. No-brainer. attorneysonretainer.us/AAR. And when you use that AAR code there, you get $50 off the sign-up, and you get $35 a month, $25 a month for each individual family member, including yourself when you sign up for the family package like I did. Something happens, investigation. Yes, I will talk to you. I will cooperate, but I want to speak with my attorney first. Boom. It's that simple, and I don't have to go out and mortgage everything I've earned in my entire lifetime to do that and protect myself. You don't have to either. No-brainer stuff. Take advantage of it. Lee The Gunwriter Williams, welcome back to the Patriot Mobile Command Center, bro. Good to have you here, as always.
As always, thanks. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Let's wrap up previous. I'll let you throw us, you know, what's the end here? What's the exclamation point here with the doctor nonsense?
Well, I think we need to realize how that site has changed, how you're getting these opinion stories in there masquerading as some type of scientific research. It's not. I think Dr. Young from DRJ said it best. I'm just going to read his final quote. Ultimately, gun banning, known as the gun safety industrial complex, is on its own now. Some people make a career out of it. They'll get funding through Bloomberg, and they have careers at it. Careers, brother. I do not depend on my income for my Second Amendment advocacy, which I believe makes me a much more honest participant. I mean, they're getting paid to be anti-gun. The doctors are. It's crazy.
Yeah, and, well, folks, you heard it here. But it is still incumbent upon you to do your research with whatever, investigate your doctor. Here's a good question, Lee, just popped in my head. If you don't know what your doctor's position is, should you ask next time you see your physician?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Going to physicians is a two-way street, especially with some of the stuff they do to you when you get a little older. I definitely would ask, say, where are you on guns? Where are you on this? Where are you on that? Nothing wrong with it. The doctor should expect it.
Yeah, one thing to keep in mind, a lot of doctors, when I first started seeing my physician many years ago, a great guy. How great of a guy is he? Ask me, Lee, how great of a guy is he? I say, he's a great guy. I say, how great is he?
How great is he?
Well, he's so great. He told me if he ever saw me walk into the building with a mask on during COVID, he would throw me out. Okay. He's such a great guy. Okay. Try again. He's such a great guy.
He's such a great guy.
He asked me, he's such a great guy, he asked me what gun I was carrying, not the last time I saw him, but a couple times back. What gun are you carrying in here today? And I showed him, and we talked about our guns. Okay? That's a great doctor to have. But I think it bears mentioning that a lot of these doctors, when I first met him, he owned his practice. He's now out with, one of the larger organizations. And most of our doctors now are groups like what? Wellstar, et cetera, right? And a lot of these doctors are doing the corporate bidding because while they may have paid the doctor millions for their practice, the doctors are now employed by these organizations. While they make a ton of money, they are employees of some of these healthcare conglomerates who might have anti-gun positions. And if that's the case, you need to know. You need to know. All right, let's move on to Florida. Fun stuff to talk about, though. Florida, Tallahassee Democrat. You know what you're getting. Florida's an active pro-gun state. They've got a piece up. What are the new gun laws in Florida? What to know about open carry, bump stocks, red flags? Now, Sunshine State, according to the Tallahassee Democrat, and these are accurate numbers, ranks number 2 in the country in total gun sales with an estimated 1.2 million guns sold in 2024, right behind Texas, 1.36 million. Every year, Florida legislators introduce bills to either loosen or tighten state laws on firearms. In 2023, DeSantis signed a law allowing people to carry concealed weapons and firearms without background checks, training, or a concealed license. So let's stop right there. Lee, since that's been in effect, have you had to put lifters and lift kits on your vehicles to get through the rivers of blood that were predicted?
Oh, yeah, it's terrible. There's blood. I see 1,000 dead people outside my window. No, zero change. Zero dead victims. Nobody has noticed a change. And that's just not here in Sarasota County where I live. That's the entire statewide. Brother.
Now, it's not unusual that Florida would have high purchases of firearms. It's what, the third most populated state in the country, or second, I think right behind California. But nonetheless, here's what happened this year in Florida. Floridians can now buy guns and ammo during local states of emergency. This one has always blown me away because we've never had a state of weather emergency in Florida for hurricanes, ever, have we? Yeah, come on.
We'll get one a year at least.
At least one a year. At least one a year. Mandatory evacuations. Florida now does not restrict gun rights when the governor proclaims a statewide emergency. I thought that had been taken care of in Florida about 4 or 5 years ago, but I was mistaken. Georgia also has the same deal, yet again beating Florida to the punch on that. Second one was law enforcement can avoid waiting period. More corrections officers can carry concealed weapons. Law enforcement. Here's where this is opening a Pandora's box.
I know where you're going, and I'm glad you're going there.
Yeah, why is it okay for law enforcement to avoid a waiting period, and not me?
I don't know. I have no idea. I have zero idea why that should be. But that's the way they're treated in the legislature up in Tallahassee. They've always been extra citizen. They've got extra citizen points, so to speak. I don't know why. It makes me sick to my stomach. But yeah, we've created a secondary. Citizens have become a secondary class of gun owners in Florida because our Florida legislature. Now, I will tell you this.
Go ahead.
Law enforcement has tremendous power and resources, and lobbies spends a ton of money. So maybe that has something to do with it.
Yeah, you can always track the money and chase the money in politics. I'll ask this question now. We come back from the break. We'll get a response from you. But here in the state of Georgia, your permit, if you keep a permit, which is not required here in the state because it is true constitutional carry, which includes open carry. If you keep your permit, which I will always do in Georgia, that is my background check for my 4473. Now, Georgia doesn't have a waiting period, okay? But the 4470, that is my background check for the 4473. And I'm going to ask you, Lee, because I'm not sure. I've lost track of this over the last few years. Is the Florida concealed carry permit the same thing? And does that eliminate the 3-day wait if you have the concealed carry permit, as it is here in Georgia, even without a waiting period? It's the 4473. When we come back, one more segment with Lee the Gunwriter Williams. Don't go away.
This segment is brought to you by Attorneys on Retainer. Get the only self-defense program for gun owners backed by a real law firm, the Attorneys for Freedom. Visit them online at attorneysonretainer.us. Welcome back.
Yeah, you need to do that, folks. Again, this is something that, you just can't have enough certain type of coverages. You need insurance for certain things in your life. You have to have it. And I'm of the mindset, it's just my personal opinion, maybe not yours, but I'd rather have more of that stuff than not enough, okay? That's just the way I feel about it. Even if I've got a beat-up used car, I'm going to keep the full coverage on that vehicle because I don't want any hassles. That's just me. Maybe you feel differently about that. But when it comes to my ability to defend myself and having to defend myself a second time in a court of law, I want the best of the best behind me. It's that simple. And for $35 a month, no-brainer. Make sure to check them out, attorneysonretainer.us/AAR. X Insurance covers your guns. You need coverage. Guns in your truck, gap coverage. Insurance doesn't cover it. X Insurance does. Daniel Defense has everything you need. Defender Coffee. Why drink anything else? Drink Defender Coffee. It's great organic coffee, and support the gun rights organizations of your choice. These are all fantastic partners. MyPillow. We don't talk about MyPillow enough, but you guys are using that promo code and have been for well over 12 years. MyPillow.com/AAR. Take advantage of all these great things. Say thanks, Mike, for supporting my gun rights for the last, near decade and a half. Okay, Emerson Knives. Ernie Emerson and his family have it going on. AAR promo code. Get you 10% off. The highest quality knives you'll ever own. Heaven's Harvest. Real simple. Promo code AAR. Use it. Take advantage of it and have some emergency food supplies. Guys, these companies mean business. They're the real deal. We're proud to be partnered with them. BudsGunShop.com, our exclusive online retailer. Buy the gun. Keep it for 30 days. If you don't like it, send it back. Nobody else does that. BudsGunShop.com, our exclusive online retailer. Everything you need, they have. You never have to go to a gun shop again unless you want to go to the range, quite frankly. Buds has got you covered. BarrelBuddy.com. We will have a new promo code for you active next week and with some great discounts. So stay tuned for that. We're going to be working on that. We've already worked on it. It'll be out next week. I'll clue you in on that. Patriot Mobile, Crossbreed holsters, etc., and Ammo Squared. Start stacking ammo like I do. I got my notification that my payment cleared today. Tomorrow I'll get the notification that says you've got ammo. Lee, the Gunwriter Williams, welcome back in, my brother.
Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
So let's do the Florida thing. Let's continue on this briefly because Florida has frustrated me for the last several years. I just don't get them. And I don't know that I'm ever going to actually get them at this stage of the game. But does the permit in Florida, as I was asking in the previous segment, does that eliminate the wait period in Florida anymore?
Yes.
Okay, so that acts as your background check and wipes out the 3-day wait. If you do not have a Florida permit, well, ladies and gentlemen, you're just a ward of the state, and they're going to hold your gun for you for 3 days because, well, they're just being safe that you're not going to rob a liquor store. Good heavens. Come on, Lee.
Yeah, there's two sides to that, though. I do not have a permit. I do not want anything in the government's hands. I know this is me and I'm crazy that says that I have guns. So I don't. So I buy a pistol. I have several already if I need one. And I'll wait 3 days, and that's no big deal.
Yeah, and that's okay with you, but you also have everything you need. There are a lot of people who don't. There are people out there whose lives are on the line, maybe being stalked, okay, that now have to wait 3 days because they don't have a permit. And they have a right to carry a gun without a permit in Florida, but without the permit, they're waiting several days. And that all came from the Parkland gig when they added that 3 days to the state of Florida. No doubt about it. Gun bills that failed in 2025 in Florida legislature. And this is always fun because the Democrats, they never stop. Required background checks for the sale or transfer of ammo. Prohibited firearms in sensitive locations such as healthcare facilities, government buildings, schools, parks, shelters, and more. Prohibited private sales of firearms unless both parties get background checks. That's the universal background check ruse, Lee, that the Democrats never, ever, ever let up on. If you want to lend me a gun, let's say I fly to Florida, which I'm doing tomorrow, and I'm going to meet you, and you want to hand me a gun to carry while I'm there, where that has eliminated me having to travel with a gun a lot. Most places I go, that's what happens. But they wanted me to have to get a background check for that transaction to be able to do that, Lee.
Yeah, well, that's the downness, and that's not going to work. Unfortunately, there were some good pro-gun bills in there that didn't make it also, and that's Florida, man. I mean, people go up to the state legislature and tally, and they lose their minds.
Yeah, one of those bills that you're talking about was the one that removed the age restrictions to buy a firearm, the 18 to 20-year-old. And, ladies and gentlemen, it's your National Rifle Association right now that is spearheading that lawsuit, and I think they're going to be successful in the state of Florida on that lawsuit. I really do. Very disappointed what happened in Georgia. We just wrapped up a lawsuit, but it was fought under state constitutional issues, which made the Georgia Supreme Court the final say, rather than federal, so that we could now appeal it. If we had lost at the federal level, we could have appealed it to the 11th Circuit, but that didn't happen. So we're kind of screwed until there's a legislative change or a victory at the Supreme Court on that, which I believe will come, but it's not going to happen overnight. In Florida, you still can't Go ahead.
I carried an M16 when I was 18. Okay, that should be the goal. If you're 18, if you can enlist in the military and carry firearms, carry automatic weapons, you should be able to buy yourself a handgun when you're at home.
One would think. And 18 to 20-year-olds in the state of Georgia can carry with military experience or active duty. In Florida, the same?
No.
Okay, so they've been stripped of their right to bear arms even after they complete military service.
Yes.
Okay, all right. You're old enough to know that you could drink a beer at 18 years ago. All right. This is, again, malum prohibitum versus malum ince. These are man-made laws, ladies and gentlemen. You can conceal carry basically in most places in Florida, but not everywhere. There are still restrictions in Florida. Some of those places are any place of nuisance, which, bars. But in a weird way in Florida, you can't carry you can carry, if you go into a Bennigan's, for example, or an Applebee's, right? I don't even know if they still have Bennigan's. You go into an Applebee's, for example. You can carry sitting in a booth, Lee. But if the bathroom requires you to go 100%. Through the bar, you're violating Florida law by going through the bar because you can't carry in that portion. I guess, well, I know what happens. Every time I walk through a bar when I got to go to the bathroom, I feel like killing people. So that I can understand that. I can understand that. The stupidity here, folks, is just off the chain. Off the chain.
It is. It really is.
In Florida, you do not have to notify law enforcement if you carry a firearm, and there's always a big argument about that, and it's always a fun conversation. I've been stopped by Florida Highway Patrol over the years, and only one time did I notify the officer that I had a firearm, and that's because it was on my right hip, and my paperwork was over on the other side of the vehicle, and if I leaned, he was likely going to see it, and I didn't feel like having a 9mm in my ear that morning. I really needed to get where I was going. So I notified the cop. And that's actually not a bad idea to do. If you have a firearm on you, you can politely say, hey, officer, I am carrying a firearm, particularly in Florida. They know you got a concealed carry permit. It pops up with your license when they do your check. So, Lee, tell people where they can find you, brother. We're getting ready to close this one out.
They go to armedamericannews.org. They can go to thegunwriter.substack.com, or we prefer you go to saf.org, staff.org, for the Second Amendment Foundation.
Doing God's work. Lee, are we going to see you at the GRPC?
Absolutely. I will be there.
Lee Williams will be there, ladies and gentlemen, September 26th, 27th, and 28th at the Marriott downtown in Salt Lake City. Be there. Come up and say hi to Lee and myself, Alan Gottlieb, AWR Hawkins, Cam Edwards, Stephen Gutowski, and many, many others. Mark Smith will be there, Four Boxes Diner. Tom Gresham, our great friend from Gun Talk, will be there. So don't miss out on this opportunity. It's free to attend. We got cheap rates for you at the hotels. I'll be emceeing that whole deal all day Saturday. Come out and say hello and shake our paws. And if I can make it work, I'm going to play some guitar there while we're there. That'll be kind of fun. Anyway, love you guys. Thanks for tuning in today. Appreciate it. Andy Hoosier in the seat for me Wednesday and Thursday. Enjoy your day. Stay safe. We'll see you live on Sunday.
You just filled your prescription for freedom with Mark Walters, presented by the National Rifle Association. The National Rifle Association on the Armed American Radio Network.
That move right there, Greg.
Right.
Did you hear that?
Yes, I did. I've heard it for 5 years.
I know you've heard it for 5 years, wise ass. I was pointing to a specific part of the riff. But yeah, that part of the riff is what I was talking about with the instructor.
Yeah, I know
today.
what you're talking about.
I finally figured that out. after the last nearly 3 years. So good heavens. All right, guys, thanks for being here today. I appreciate it very much. Got some business to do that fortunately wound up having to be down in Key West. Tomorrow afternoon, Thursday, none Friday, so we're going to take a free day there. Coming back Saturday, we'll never miss a Sunday show for you. So we're going to go get some business done. Andy Hoosier will be in the chair on Wednesday and Thursday, and it looks like we're going to be running an encore on Friday because one or two people that wanted to host the show, I said, no, can't do that. But Andy Hoosier is a heavy 100 talkers, so Andy's good. We love Andy Hoosier, and he's thrilled to be here. So your good friend, our good friend Andy Hoosier from KQA and Wichita's Big Talker will be in a seat for us Wednesday and Thursday. Same bat time, same bat channel. Enjoy your day, guys. Stay safe, and we'll see you back here in the chair live. I'll be live. Show will be live every day but Friday, but I'll see you back here live for Sunday's Monster Cast. Stay safe, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it.